G'day, film fans. I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive, critical eye.
That's right. And to keep us honest, we've turned this into a drinking game. Oh, it was a quiet one. Oh, pop that beer.
Come on.
Yeah, anyone says anything negative or stupid about a film or the film, they'll hear this sound, and that means we're drinking. So pour yourselves a glass and let's go back to school, if only for a little second.
Just for a moment there at the end. Folks, we have a guest with us today. We're very excited to have him on the show. He's a friend of mine here in the City of Angels. His name is Chris Hurte. Chris, welcome to the show. Different. Jeff looks way better than he usually does. Welcome to the show, Chris. Chris works on a tiny little show. Maybe you've heard of it. Not many people watch it. It's called Mandolorian. So we're very excited to have one of the editors on that show with us today.
What's up, film nerds?
Dude.
What's going on?
Welcome,
First of all, let me clarify. I am an assistant editor on that show because I know your fans are going to look this up on IMDb and be like, John lied. I do edit. You know
I clarify as well. For about 5 seconds, I was credited as the colorist on Creed. And it was autocorrect. It was autocorrect. You should have just kept it. I didn't do it. Someone else put it in. I found it. I was like, no.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah. So let's get it on, you guys. Let me just shout out really quickly. Beer sponsor, Carlos Barroso. That is cbarroso.beer on Instagram. If you want to give them the follow, check out the show notes for the handle. And the music, as always, is provided by the artist Dasein, Dasein. Music's on SoundCloud and coming other places very soon. Check out the link in the show notes as well.
Ooh.
All right, you guys.
That's new.
This week, yes, it'll be happening soon. This week, we are going to be talking about the third installment of the post-original series Harry Potter Wizarding World, The Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Of which he has many, apparently.
Apparently, this man is
2.5 hours
full of secrets. Anyone who watched or read the original book series knows that guy always seemed very secretive. You basically had to wait the entire fucking book so that he could just tell Harry in the epilogue exactly what he was thinking and doing the whole time behind the scenes to manipulate this child all the way to death. Basically, that's basically what Dumbledore was doing.
And only admitted he made a mistake once.
I mean, oh my God, it's so dark. How did she get away with it? Chris, do you agree with me, dude? Like, I feel like, are you a fan of this series? Let's start with this. Are you a fan of the Harry Potter Wizarding World? Do you like it?
I am a massive fan of Harry Potter and all of its flaws, all of its beautiful flaws. I grew up. I grew up with the books. I think starting with book 3, I was at the midnight releases for all the book, and from then on, I was all in. And in her defense, the reason that he had to lie to him the entire time was because Snape could read his mind and Voldemort later with occlumency. So he had to lie to him.
That's Phil. You know what? We got out-nerded. We got out-nerded in the first 10 minutes.
So I'm just saying, you got to, there's a reason. Maybe you could have handled some stuff better, but,
You know what? I'm not going to take that.
Get back. His virgin buzz. His virgin buzz.
It was done out of spite.
Very fair.
No, you're totally right, too. When we were watching, I saw this movie with Chris a few days ago. We had a really good time, and my girlfriend. And I'm not gonna lie, there were a couple of moments where I was moved, and we'll get to those. I enjoyed this movie. I think I had fun, but it definitely made me think of the Severus. Please. Dumbledore's great death. Like you can't not think about all of the secrets this guy had. It just seems like it is fun to imagine him just pulling all the strings. Very different than, I'm going to really nerd out here, very slightly different, maybe very different than the way the archetype of Gandalf is presented in Tolkien's world, where Gandalf, until he becomes the White, is trying to figure out history. He needs to understand. He has to do research. He's never 30 steps ahead of everybody the way Albus fucking Dumbledore seems to always know, or it seems to always have some secret. He just seems to always have some kind of knowledge. So before we get too deep into this movie, I'll just drop this little breadcrumb. I think they did one aspect of this movie that I really appreciated was they gave us a little bit of a glimpse into the fact that Dumbledore and Grindelwald can see magic like differently than everybody else. Like there are certain things that I thought that they showed with the way he used magic that they've never really touched in the original series. Of course, they see everything differently than people who can't do magic as well as them. And I thought this was one of the first movies where I felt like they were like, oh my God, Dumbledore's doing things that like they can't teach in school. Like he can't even teach it. He just knows he's a prodigy. He just does it. So there's a couple sequences I'm excited to talk about. But first, let's give it up and let's go around for our little blurbs to get people caught up. This is not the spoiler section, folks, so feel free to keep listening while we just give our general opinions first. Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. Here's a little IMDb blurb, motherfuckers. Albus Dumbledore assigns Newt and his allies with a mission related to the rising power of Grindelwald. I feel like this could be like all three movies could have that same blurb. We're just continuing to watch it, but that's the story, folks.
They got 7 movies out that had the same storyline before that, so it works. If it works, it works.
Oh my God,
bro, don't fix it.
You're so right, dude. Writers, they're back together again. We love them. J.K. Rowling has teamed up with her screenplay writing partner who was with her for all 8 movies initially, Steve Kloves. He wrote all the movies with her, so it's fun that they are still together. Directed by Mr. David Yates. He didn't write the
first 2 Fantastic Beasts, did he? It was just J.K. Rowling on the first 2 Fantastic Beasts.
Excuse me. Are you looking at it right now? Is that a sure thing?
I'm pretty sure that's a true thing. He didn't. There was one other in the original trilogy he didn't write, but then
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they just brought him back in to edit out all the trans bashing in this script. So,
I'm buzzing you for that, senor. Oh yes,
thought I'd get away with that. Not at all.
Hashtag.
She was not going to escape unscathed on this show. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Do you think she tried to? I want to ask you guys if you thought she tried to address that in this movie at all.
No, not at all.
All right, let's go around the horn. Oh, real fast. David Yates. We were talking about him before the show started. This man has been embedded in the world of Harry motherfucking Potter for a very long time. He directed in 2007, he directed the 5th Order of the Phoenix. So that's 5, 6, 7, part 1 and part 2, and all 3 of the Fantastic Beasts films. Has he done anything else? Do his kids have tons of fun going to work with him? I fucking hope so, even though they're all like definitely in their 20s if he has children by now.
I love that his first Harry Potter movie introduced one of the most hateable characters in the entire Wizarding world.
Oh, Umbridge?
Yeah.
Umbridge. And just in general, I think it's really fun that anyone Chris, come at me. Tell me if you agree with this. I'm a huge fan of the different aesthetic in the original 8. And I think it's fun that a lot of people kind of divide David Yates films into their own category because the kids aren't kids anymore. By the time we get to 5, shit's not funny anymore. It gets serious. It's heavy. And his aesthetic just fucking worked. And I think it's cool that they've just stuck with him and they didn't kind of revert back to Chris Columbus, which I enjoyed, but.
No, I think so. Like 1, 2, 3, and 4 are, it's before they really establish how the series is going to, come to its conclusion. I really do think the story, starting with book 5, starts a narrative that weaves all the way to the end of 7. So I think from a thematic standpoint, it makes sense to have someone that was able to create a consistent visual style from 5 through the end of that. And it works. I mean, I have some issues with this film, but I think visually it looked like a Harry Potter film, and a lot of the magic and stuff I thought was really cool. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of myself saying that yet.
No.
But totally. It's and I think a lot of that's directly attributed to the fact that he's good at that style. Movies 5, 6, and 7, 1, and then 1, 2, and 3. I think they all look great. They all look like Harry Potter films.
Yeah. I still haven't been. My sister lives in London right now, and I never got a chance to go over there to Pinewood and see the whole permanent exhibition of all the fucking sets that they left there. And I've seen pictures and stuff. It looks really cool.
I went. It's really sick.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Nice, dude. Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Let's go around the horn and let's just give our general what we thought about it. Dave, why don't you kick us off, dude?
Sure.
Let me ask you this question first. Did you rewatch any of the Fantastic Beasts going into this?
I actually rewatched them a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
Just when I was going through like a let's watch 2 movies in a row phase. I feel like, and I said this before we started, I'm going to say it again, Warner Brothers kind of threw this to the side and then turned around and said the worst thing you can say to a franchise, which is like, we'll talk about the next entry after we see your numbers on Monday. And so far, I think the numbers aren't good. So it's a little soft, but I don't feel like they gave this one almost a fair go. It was almost like releasing it was an afterthought. So, and I'm not sure who's reviewing this as well, because the reviews were really bad. Like, people were slamming this all over the internet. And this one is actually probably my favorite of the series.
Yeah.
Of Fantastic Beasts series. I mean, you can't go wrong. It starts off with Newt actually doing what he does. Like, and that's pretty much the first time they've shown you that, like him in the field.
Yeah.
And like, there was just little new bits. There were some really good old nostalgic bits. There's a couple of things that probably missed the mark. I guess at some point we'll have to address the Johnny Depp recasting. And I will say to anyone who goes and watches this, don't wait for them to explain why he now looks like Mads Mikkelsen, because they don't, and you don't care. I've only met one person that takes issue with the fact that that thought Johnny Depp might have done it better, but Mads just made this role his own, in my opinion. And I'll get around to that a little later. But yeah, I had good fun with this, and it was probably up there in some of the better stuff. I can't say it's up there in some of the better stuff. Everything they've released this year so far, I don't think we've had a bad review, have we? Except for maybe one.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a great year for cinema. But that's...
Yeah, so far I think we're having fun. These are like the big tent poles. I feel like these are all the big franchisey things. I think we're going to get into some that are outside of these giant worlds soon. But yeah.
One caveat I will throw in really early is...
Recently?
Yeah. The movie of which we dare not speak its name.
Buzzer? No,
yeah.
you didn't give me that?
We're both going down for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
One thing I will say, though, one caveat before we move too far into the episode. Don't take young kids to see this. Like, I'm talking your 6 or 7-year-olds, because it will fuck them up for weeks. Like, that you're going to be up you're going to be up dealing with nightmares for weeks. You take your fucking 6-year-old to see this movie.
Scorpion crab thing.
Yeah, that even freaked me out.
Body bile remains. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, this is not for
Chris,
kids anymore.
What'd you think, dude? What'd you think for that? I know I was sitting right beside you, and we talked a little bit afterwards, but just the general takeaway.
I think my biggest takeaway.
No spoilers yet, by the way.
Takeaway of this film is that it made me sad that the first 2 films, at least how I remember them, weren't better than they were, because this, especially like the last half of it or so, gave me big wrapping up a story vibes with big emotional payouts for various storylines that I don't feel like they really earned based off how disjointed, at least I remember the first 2 movies being.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was almost like its own trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to second that big time. And I know I mentioned that to you when we walked out, and I wasn't sure if you totally agreed with me, but I think this was, I did rewatch number 2. It's not called The Secrets of Grindelwald, is it?
Crimes of Grindelwald.
The Crimes of Grindelwald. Okay. I rewatched that one, last week at some point, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, what is going on? Like, it was kind of like tough to follow. Like, I remember being a little underwhelmed by the first one and just feeling like, always nice to go back to the wizarding world, but there wasn't a very high stakes story there. It was more about Newt gently touching on, introducing Dumbledore and gently touching on maybe what was going to come. I remember at the end of that thinking like, ooh, is this actually going to be about Dumbledore and they're just using Newt as a vehicle to get us there? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I was excited to see more of Grindelwald, but then it just, I don't know, structurally, I remember thinking there were issues. And this was the one for me where I felt like, okay, if they're going to spin off and we all just have to accept the fact that Harry Potter is spinning off into these side stories, this one felt like a movie that could hold its own weight against, such an iconic original series.
This knew where it was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dave, maybe you're right. I mean, maybe because Cloves and came back and did this one with JK, it felt, and I'm not talking aesthetic. David Yates has been there the whole time. It felt structurally like those movies, especially the later ones, the very shamelessly long, over 2.5 hours ones, 5, 6, 7, and 1 and 2. So it kind of felt more similar to me. Whereas I remember walking out of the original 2 and kind of thinking, I know we're in the Harry Potter universe, but they didn't feel like Harry Potter movies. There was something that felt different about them structurally. So that's what really stuck for me. And I am, as they know on this show, anybody who fucking listens to this thing, we are enormous Mads Mikkelsen fans. So yes. I don't care what happened in The Replacement, whatever. I like Johnny Depp too, but I thought this was really touching.
I don't think some of those scenes would have been as effective because Johnny Depp is a character performer. Like he puts on a character, and so he's playing something. Mads Mikkelsen, when he speaks, he's just a guy who's doing evil things, and you are 100% on board with the fact this guy is like just evil. Like, so he really sold it in like far more than I think Johnny Depp playing a character, because Johnny Depp kind of has 2 shticks now, like, and he doesn't seem to be able to deviate from that. And so I feel like it wouldn't have sold as well if they hadn't have done this change. My
disappointment is not that it's Mads Mikkelsen because he's great. It's that there's a recasting, and I feel like that's almost like a representation of the fact that this entire series so far has just not gone very smoothly. Because a recasting to me just shows that you've kind of lost. I mean, granted, some of it was out of their hands.
Yeah, that was where most of that recasting came from. The court case is still ongoing.
It's still ongoing. I don't know. I just I was so excited when I first heard that they're going to be making these movies, because I was like, the very creative people are going to be able to make a story with adults that are all badass at magic. They aren't dealing with a bunch of kids, and we can get a real cool, amazing Harry Potter story. And I just feel like it hasn't lived up to that at all. And the recasting to me just feels like a cherry on top, because it just makes the films feel even more disjointed. And like it wasn't planned from the beginning until now.
Yeah, that's fair.
My brother asked me the other day, you know what, Chris? That's just enough.
Was that negative?
It's just enough.
That was just enough.
That's fair. That was negative. I do feel negative about that.
No, I feel you. My brother asked me, like, how was it? And sorry, I can't get his buzzer to go away now, Dave. There we go. And I said, in a different reason than what you just said, but I kind of said, you know how the Hobbits feel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Like, no one thinks they're in the same league. But if you've watched all the 3 Lord of the Rings, and you kind of want to stay in the world and have a merry-go-round to go around one last time so that you can justify rewatching Fellowship again. I mean, these are kind of in that space. I don't think the first 2 are as good as this one, and I'll stand by that. All right. One question I wanted to ask y'all specifically, though, that I've always been curious, like, how are they going to handle this in movies in general if they keep playing with Dumbledore's past? When you find out that Dumbledore was in love with a man, and every time they've shown it in the movies, do you guys really buy that these guys like wanted to touch each other's bodies? I mean,
it doesn't necessarily need to be physical. Like,
all right. So are you rationalizing for the movie? Because I feel like in the books it is not just we love each other as good friends. I thought that they were in love with each other.
Oh, he specifically says that in the movie. But again, it's they were 2 people discussing the future of the world, that sort of thing. Like, so it could have been more an intellectual love more than physical. I don't know. What I do know is there doesn't seem to be, like, the internet's not blowing up about it. Everyone just shut up. No, there's no complaints. No one's hate bombing this thing down on like review sites or anything because of that. So I'll take the win there.
Yeah.
I think my only thing that I think, like, by doing that, by keeping it in that safer place, I think that they I think they're losing opportunities to take advantage of that as an obstacle for each of those characters. That just being in the proximity to one another is difficult.
Well, do they still love each other though at this point? I mean, I think they're 20 plus years past when they made this bond.
Yeah. No, but you know how it is. Like, well, I mean, I guess we could talk about that, but I still feel like, there's always a place in your heart for these people we've been with in our lives in the past, especially your first. If they were their first loves and they've never loved anyone else, I just feel like there's something they could have played into that a little bit, that they were, the pebble in each other's shoe, a little bit of the Achilles heel, the weakness. And I don't think I've ever really
that was definitely
seen
the case.
them take advantage of that. You do think they did that?
No, I definitely think they were each other's weakness. I mean, they had the bond that literally they couldn't.
That was external.
Fight each other.
You know what I mean? That's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Like they externalized their conflict with each other in this thing, and they kind of made us believe that like this thing is the only reason. I'm just saying, I think it could have been richer if they would have made it about this thing, and then after that thing was destroyed, it would have been something even more difficult. I really enjoyed that moment at the end, and we're not getting into super spoiler territory yet, but when they do finally have some kind of confrontation, when they do touch each other, I thought that was a moving moment. But I don't know, I just felt like overall they could maybe have, I don't think there would have been any harm in trying to play into the fact that they still had feelings for each other. And that's
what about when they bang in the dining car of the Hotwalks Express.
Yeah, that's the
behind the scenes. On that note, we're moving into spoilers.
Stupid,
Dave just gave away the opening to this movie, so we might as well just move into spoilers.
I do want one quick thing before we move into spoilers. I probably should do this after spoilers. So yeah, okay, we'll activate the spoiler alert, and so now go and see this movie. Come back and listen to the rest of this episode if you like. Have some more drinks with us. We got more to say. The plot of this film, where they develop the unplanned plan. Is it or is it not the exact plot line of a Rick and Morty heist episode?
Y'all will have to tell me that because I've never watched that show.
I think
Chris knows what I'm talking about here.
Yes, I think there's literally an episode with the exact same plot.
Yeah, he builds a robot called Heistotron that goes rogue, and they have to basically do all sorts of random shit so that it can't predict what he's going to do. And then, of course, at the end of it, there's the reveal of the heist, and it's exactly the plot of this movie.
The plot is that there's no plot.
Yes.
And do you think it's Steve Kloves or JK that is up late at night watching Rick and Morty?
I don't think JK is watching Rick and Morty.
Oh boy. What did you guys think? What were your favorite sequences? I thought the first time when Dumbledore fights, I don't want to totally give away his relationship to him, but Ezra Miller's character, Credence Barebone. I thought their first showdown, their first fight, was badass.
That went from fucking 0 to 100.
Yeah,
you're like,
that's kind of what I was alluding to.
He's following me. He's following. Holy fuck! What the hell's going on this street? Yeah, it was.
That's what I was alluding to earlier. You remember? Do y'all ever have this feeling when you were watching the old Harry Potters or reading them? I remember just thinking, like, no fucking way these people need wands. Like, why do I understand, like, it might be a useful tool for the younger wizards, but are you kidding me? I never thought Dumbledore needed a wand. Like, surely he can just blink and make crazy shit happen.
Did you notice the kids have to shout shit, but the adults don't?
Yes, exactly. All right. So anyway, this is kind of what I was talking about. I've kind of been waiting like the whole fucking series to see him just be magic.
Yeah.
And this first sequence was awesome. I thought they took it to a crazy place. Dumbledore does this thing where he takes him into this like parallel little world for a second where he's like laying in the puddle. They didn't explain it. I loved it.
He learned that from Doctor Strange.
I didn't need to have it explained.
Yeah.
It was so fucking cool. I thought that was like, I've been kind of waiting to see magic like that. And I kind of wish Jeff was here because we talked quite a bit we had a big franchise face off, Chris, during the first part of the pandemic, and Harry Potter got down to number 2 for us.
There's some violent arguments in that. You should give that a listen.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll go back and check that one out.
But Jeff always talked about how he kind of he was kind of frustrated sometimes with the way the aesthetic of the magic in a lot of those first series of movies feels kind of mechanical. like literally the way bricks move and the way things transform and stuff, as opposed to it just changes, it just does. And I thought, whether or not you like it, I liked the aesthetic of this one. I thought the way they used magic to do stuff like in that first sequence was really cool. Did you guys feel that way at all? Was that a sequence that, did you think that was fucking awesome too?
I mean, it's now you're starting to get a sense of why nobody fucks with Dumbledore. Like, yeah,
and I mean, like,
it's not going to go well for you. This guy is awesome. He's basically a gunslinger with a wand, and they even do the shot like at the end of the movie when they're doing the face off. It's almost like a gunslinger face off. I was waiting for the close up in the eyes.
Yeah, the Sergio Leone. Fucking, yeah. What were some of y'all's? Go for it, Chris.
I think one of the biggest things that this movie succeeded on, and then I'm going to go back and talk about what you said about the Dumbledore thing, but I think that they did a really good job of showing, one, people who can do magic well, and just going at it. And I thought it was really cool. I think my favorite sequence in the film was the battle during the dinner. At the end of the dinner, where Lally saves the day.
Yeah, it was so cool.
And it was cool to see how she's a complete badass at magic, obviously, but the way that she was fighting was completely different than when you've seen huge battles in the past. I think the first time you ever see two wizards in any of the Harry Potter movies like really go at it is at the end of Order of the Phoenix, when Voldemort and Dumbledore are fighting. And that's the first time. And I remember being like, holy shit, like magic is sick when you're really good at it. So it's like, but it was still very much like casting spells, moving things around. And for her, it was like, she was like making things moving around and pushing stuff. And it was all charm-based magic as opposed to like spell-based magic or normal casting.
Ooh,
also, it was really interesting.
Hers was more defensive too.
Yeah, more defensive, exactly. And it's like, I actually want to go back and just watch it. Once it gets on the streaming, I'll probably go back and see how exactly she manipulated stuff. But it was very cleverly put together. And I appreciated that it was someone who was not as good as Dumbledore, but exceptionally good at magic. And and she fought completely differently, which I think is how magic would work. At least I like to think it would be.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in a very broad note, I appreciate the original series. I'm not hacking on it, but I think that this film, especially, I don't know if I would say that about. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Why not? I don't know if I would say this about the first two, but definitely in this one, I like what you're saying. I felt like magic was personal to each wizard in this one. It felt not just because McGonagall teaches transformation and Dumbledore knows everything and Snape is potions. This one felt like people dealt with the magic differently. And it was, of course, they were all in scenarios where they were defending themselves, which was helpful. They had to be using their best magic. So it was justified as well emotionally from like a character standpoint that they were put in situations where they had to use their best stuff. There was a wonderful little showdown between Lally and, or with Lally and, help me out, what's his name? Theseus, where they kind of really just handle like over 10 guys at once. I thought that was really cool.
That was a good one.
Unique. It wasn't just, expect-up-a-try. It wasn't just like de-wanding people. It was like throwing people into brick walls and really unique. So I totally agree with that. I was really impressed with the magical sequences, which is, we should say that, right? We should want to say that.
I love that they expanded on that. And these it's just not like three things that you learn in wizarding school. These people have a fucking arsenal. At their disposal, and they're using them. And I will say, like, one of my highlights, and it made me smile and grin like an idiot, was when they got to the suitcase opening scene, where they like everyone's opening the suitcases, and it was like the big reveal of what's what. And then what explodes out of these suitcases is like a trip down fucking Harry Potter creature memory lane. Like it was amazing. And, like everything that theme, from the
all the books from all the movies.
Yeah.
The musical theme came back full force in that moment too.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris and I talked about that. Like there were a few choice times where they just dropped the themes back in.
Straight up John Williams cue gets dropped in. I think that was the only time in that movie where it's straight up a John Williams cue for
when they first came flying into Hogwarts too. They dropped it as well.
Anytime they were in Hogwarts, they were like, you know what we're about to do.
I mean, you can't that main theme, that flyover.
Yeah. So I think that was outside of like we're just talking like technical movie making stuff. this was really fun to watch for the magic. Even if you just fucking don't really subscribe to the Harry Potter world, if you enjoy visual spectacle, there were maybe 5 or 6 really fun magical sequences in here that they sequences like that did not exist in the first 8 Harry Potter movies. So it was cool to see them kind of push themselves. Story wise, what'd you guys think about, all right, I'm probably going to get buzzed here. This might be my only kind of issue, is that going off of what I was saying about my lack of clarity with number 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald, they introduce Credence in that one. Credence Barebone, who you find out, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, you find out that he's technically a Dumbledore. You find that out for sure in this one, but Grindelwald tells him that in the previous one in number 2. I'm not sure they didn't. His whole storyline was quite kind of confusing and combobulated in the second one. And I'm still not sure it really landed for me this time. I'm just not sure I cared as much as I wanted to about him. I understood it all intellectually in the third one. It was a little harder to follow in the second one.
Yeah. First of all,
but I don't know if I. Yeah, sure. Did you guys? Am I alone? Were you guys totally on board? Were you right there with it?
I feel like he got relegated to a B character.
Yes, and I think he was supposed to be.
And that's why I was kind of hoping Jeff was going to be here, because I was going to make the reference that Newt got Boba Fetted in his own film as well. Like they just other characters just came in and fucking took it over. So this was more about Dumbledore than anything. Like all the stuff they set up, they kind of wrapped it up and resolved it partially. But it's now about Dumbledore Grindelwald. I feel like if they do get to a number 4, that's where it's going. Like you'll see Newt still, and I hope they still utilize, because I felt like they utilized the creatures better this time. Like the creatures had a purpose. It wasn't just some cute shit happening or some like it put up a quick point of conflict. So I felt like they used the creatures and they were useful, and his knowledge was useful. It was more like when Newt was there, it was more about Newt than it has been.
I totally agree with that.
I feel like the efficacy. No, you go first.
No. Get in there, dude.
I feel like the efficacy of any kind of series, whether it's a trilogy or even something bigger like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, anything that's supposed to be some sort of interwoven story that goes across many movies, whether it's 2 or 18, the efficacy is being able to then like go back a year or 2 from now and watch them and have them not feel incredibly disjointed. And like there was some sort of like effective thought of like making it feel like someone had control. Someone was at the wheel and had made decisions that you can watch them in a row. And it's at the end of the day, it's a satisfying experience. There might be little issues here or there, but overall satisfying. I don't think just from that metric, I feel like this trilogy for me failed.
Yeah.
And I think
that's fair, but
that's 100% a drink. I think it's super disjointed. It's like they make a big deal at the end of and to be fair, I haven't watched the second one in a while, but they make a big deal. It's like, oh, that's the big reveal. And by the third movie, it's like, who's this guy again? I don't remember. Oh yeah, he's Dumbledore's kid, but it's Dumbledore's brother's kid. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I guess he's mad about it.
It did feed through. I feel like they're going somewhere with it. Just they didn't do it in this movie, which is weird because it was 2.5 hours long. They fit everything else in there.
Yeah.
But
there's just nothing cool for me that from the very first shot of the first scene through the end of the third, that would make me feel like it was a really sad. If I'm sitting down on a Saturday, wanting to spend 6 hours watching something, I don't know if I'd feel like this was a satisfying narrative.
I'm very fucking curious about the Phoenix though. Like, is that the one that ends up with Dumbledore?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
What's the name of that bird?
It's Fox. F-A-W-K-E. Fox.
Falx, Falx, the Phoenix,
yeah.
I mean, look, whether or not
I said 9 negative things during that section, so I'm gonna drink real quick.
Oh, get in there, dude. If J.K. Rowling was my friend, I don't know if I would say this. I don't know if I would say this straight to her face, but look, she wrote an immaculate series of books, and now they're making movies that aren't based on an immaculate series of books. It's just so similar to was The Hobbit supposed to be 3 movies? No, right? It doesn't stand up.
It's similar to the last few seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, sure.
They ran out of
I mean,
books.
I don't think the original material is there. And you know what? We're running into a dilemma that I think we've talked about on the show before. I think Marvel is running into it now. I think Star Wars has run into it from time to time. When you step that far away from original material, you have two massive choices to make. We're either not going to play by the original rules. We're not going to try to adhere to stereotypes, archetypes, structure. We're going to do something very fresh, or we're going to try to constantly nod to the original. And either one of them is a huge risk. Nodding to an original is only going to give you some cheap stuff. Is it fun to be in the world again? Yes. But is it as strong? No, because it's just not based on those original characters that those rules were created for. And if you go your own direction, Rogue One is my favorite of the newer Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think it really works. And I think they took a chance on that. I think that they wanted these to kind of be different from Harry Potter in a sense that, for me, I feel like Harry Potter they're all straight up mysteries. Like the original 8 or they're mysteries. I think all the books are Harry comes to school and tries to figure something out that time with a giant arc on top of everything with Voldemort, right? But every single movie is a mystery.
This sort of returned
these three
to that.
movies didn't feel, I don't know, dude. I feel like these 3 movies, there was always something for them to do. They had to work towards something, but I don't know if it was...
Once we got to the split, like the duplicated suitcases, it became it was almost like Ocean's 11. I was waiting for a wrap up to show what everyone did with their suitcases.
I was just about to say this,
but with ones.
It kind of felt more like a team heist, a team kind of, I don't know. It just didn't feel like there was, and at the center of it,
got a split screen in sight.
Sure. We have the Newt Scamander.
That was his problem. It needed a split screen.
Yeah.
It did need a split screen. I don't feel like at the center of it, there was a character that you cared enough about. You know what I mean? Sure.
I'm glad you brought up Game of Thrones because one of the arguments, I know it's such a tired thing to argue about Game of Thrones in the end, and everyone's heard every argument you possibly make. But the one I finally think I've personally landed on is that you could have largely told pretty much the same story that they did in those final season or 2. But if they'd expanded it out over like at least 2 or 3 more episodes, if not a whole nother season, and actually like told that story in the same pacing they did the previous 100 hours of content they'd made, like it could have actually still been fine telling the exact same story, the exact same stuff happening.
In that case, the best article I've read about why that went off the rails is because they changed the tone of how the show was written. It went from being character driven to plot driven when they ran out of books, because before it was character driven, whether or not a character was in a particular location or a scene was up to that character, what the decision they made. Once he gave them the ending they had to get to, they started moving the pieces to put them in the right place. And that was when the tone of the show changed. And it was the best article I've ever read for explaining what went wrong with Game of Thrones.
Because, it's like I have issues. Like I think things could have happened differently, would have been better, but it's like they could have told the same thing.
But those characters were not making decisions. They were being moved.
It completely lost.
Yeah, if you're going to pick a style, stick with it.
Exactly. And I actually think when I was leaving the theater, walking, right behind John, my gut was telling me it's like, I don't know that my beef is with any specific aspect of the story over these 3 movies. And again, to be fair, I haven't watched the first 2 in a while, but what I remember of the first 2, I think my beef is that it doesn't seem to have a consistent style and like a consistent narrative in the way that it tells that story over the 3 movies that felt satisfying to me.
And do you think that that's because I feel like
it's the same creative people across all 3 of them too, which makes no sense. Like, I don't know what the difference is.
Except they added one writer for this third one. So that might have helped.
But the aesthetics and the styles shifted over the original series. So I would still go back to saying that, all right, ready? You're going to buzz the shit out of me, but
fingers on the trigger.
Okay. Newt Scamander was never meant to be a protagonist of anybody's story. I'm sorry. But you have this entire series. Yeah, he was Boba Fetted. We were talking about that. And they did try to basically use him as a catalyst so we could tell more about Dumbledore's middle age, I guess. Sorry, Jude Law, but I guess this is technically his middle age. I know he's quite old. Dumbledore, not Jude Law. But I feel like at the end of the day, it wasn't just that we wanted to go back to Hogwarts, right? That's not why we signed up time and time and time again, book after book, movie after movie, to watch these children grow up. You fucking cared about characters, and movies feel like cheap movies when they just follow very traditional, screenwriting structure, and it's totally plot driven. And I think that a lot of the best stories in all mediums, novels, film, television, I think it's why streaming is succeeding so incredibly well right now, is that when they are character driven, they transcend plot. Something happens to a story when you are so invested in the decision making and the obstacles and the emotions of character that the plot that they are caught up in is just it's just a matter of circumstance. You're just trying to give these people that you care about so much difficult things to overcome.
Well, that's
and I feel like this one just never really sunk for us. And I think part of it is that the integral nature of the fact that Newt Scamander is just not interesting enough, and Albus Dumbledore is too secretive. We're never actually, we don't actually get to know him and what he's struggling with. I'll go back to what I said originally. The one thing that we do know about him that apparently he could struggle with, he didn't actually struggle with. It was just he needed to break that blood pact and everything was fine. And so I was just...
the blood pact being broken was a little bit of a letdown for me, to be honest. Oh, by the way, I was going to say, you got that for earlier.
Sure, I'm drinking, don't you worry.
But that resolve, granted, when they first got into the fight and they just paused and they've got their wands pointed at each other, and I was like, we're not going to see anything cool. I was expecting some huge fucking wizard. There it is, fucking wizard fight, and that was great. But also, they built up this whole thing about how dangerous it was for him to face him, and then the thing just broke. They didn't. That was a bit of a letdown for me.
Chris, did that moment work?
A little magical loophole that they,
that they explained after the fact, which I can't stand it when
but by that point, I'm already cheated.
What? Somebody explain it to me one more time, because I don't even know if I totally followed it. Is it only because he was in defense of another person?
Yeah, I think they were like it just happened to do a defense spell. He wasn't trying to hurt him. He was trying to help the other guy. And it just happened to land on the amulet, and the magic was powerful enough to broke the amulet.
Now, was it also because, God, I'm going to fuck his name up. Albacort? What's Albus's brother? What's Dumbledore's brother's name? Albusor? Aberforth. Was it also because he was a part of the locking of the wands? Because he fired as well, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Both of them fired at
No, I think it was because he didn't move against, he moved in defense of someone else. And because he was defending, not attacking.
Okay.
Yeah. That was it's like the forward trap in soccer. No, it's not at all.
And you know what? And let's be real.
Watch the full Monty. It's an awesome movie.
They did not. They are going to make us wait like 2 more movies before they finally let us watch an entire movie of those two guys just fighting each other.
They're not even going to make 2 more movies.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before.
I mean,
right? They have another one greenlit.
I mean, hopefully they do. Like this, it's supposed to be 5 movies. I can imagine the last one just being like a fight that goes through a town, like the end of Every Which Way But Loose or something. But that's a really old throwback for our older visitors.
That is, you know what, Dave? That's just no one even. What are you talking about?
It's a Clint Eastwood film, dude. Watch it.
Did you guys? I didn't go back and look at it. Did you guys do Eternals on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Okay. I'm assuming that was hard to not drink through the entire episode of.
I gave it more credit than they probably enjoyed me giving it.
Okay.
You guys really went for it. Yeah.
So on Eternals, I feel like that potentially could have been a pretty interesting story if it had been like a Disney Plus TV show, assuming that
that was one of the things we came to at the end. Yeah. This would have worked as better as a series.
They tried to work way too much stuff in, something one of you guys just said sort of triggered it to me in that, and I feel like I wonder if they could have told a lot of what happened in the backstory of like Grindelwald's support building up and all of that kind of stuff, and how Newt plays into actually why he's important in relation to all this. If it had just been not 3 very disjointed movies, if they figured out a way to make it into more of a series.
That's an interesting concept because the new management at Warner Brothers, now they've been handed over to Warner Brothers Discovery. is actually looking to flesh them out through side projects. So you'll have the movies and the HBO Max series that accompanies the movies, like the Batman is doing.
Oh
so that's kind of like what they're doing, looking at doing.
I mean,
now.
there can be downsides to that, but I think at least for me as a viewer, and I do watch a lot of shit. I pretty much watch everything. I watch every movie I can and every TV show I can. I've realized there's tons of stories out there that just are objectively better told through a longer medium now. And now that that's feasible to do with, decent visual effects and not make it feel cheap, there's just, there's certain, something like everywhere, everything in between, whatever that movie's called. Like for me, that was breath of fresh air. Absolutely beautiful, incredible film. Yeah. It didn't need to be longer. It didn't need, it was great from beginning to end. And then I'll watch another movie that I'm just like, they have to rush through the exposition so quickly that there's no way they could have possibly built out a payoff I would have given a shit about, because it didn't give me time to care about any of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or why they're doing what they're doing.
Well, it's like
you're totally right.
Like when they did the Suicide Squad, and it was okay. It did okay in the theaters. And then they did Peacemaker, which was a spin-off series, and it was a fucking smash hit worldwide.
Yeah.
So I think that's what put the idea in their heads. Thanks, James Gunn.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I feel like I remember back in the 2000s, just when some of the early two great TV shows were on there, and it was just so obvious that these longer mediums, when told cinematically, like, oh man, you can really do a lot with larger stories that just need time, that are really character driven. And you have to wonder if movies like this are shooting themselves in the foot. And also, as filmmakers, all three of us here, we have to also ask ourselves, like, is this really just, there's two parts. Is there more money to be made with the theatrical release and just, pushing it out and merchandise and stuff? And is that more sustainable monetarily than putting it onto a streaming service that people have subscriptions to? That's one half of the argument. And the other one is, what is going to be immortalized more? What are people going to sit down and do more often? How many times have we all seen the original Harry Potter movies? A lot. If this was stretched out over 3 or 4 seasons of television, I don't know. I'd be curious to know how many times people would, the rewatchability. I wonder if they think about that like, even though these things could be told better in longer form,
the thing
they
is,
want
though,
people in and out so that they come back for in and out. They kind of want that.
Anyone who didn't buy them is rewatching them on streaming. So, like, they have the rewatchability. Right. So, like, when you go back to these films, you're going back to them on streaming.
Yeah.
Are you going to rewatch these films a bunch of times, John?
I mean, I did just rewatch the first two.
Probably not. We were talking about.
Would you have if you weren't about to watch the third one?
I always ask myself, like, if I could, because I have rewatched The Hobbits like twice in between my rewatches of all the Lord of the Rings, and it's always a little disappointing.
I'll throw out a confession. I bought the Hobbit Extended Edition. Didn't even know it existed. So I have Lord of the Rings Extended Edition and the Hobbit Extended Edition. I've never watched the Hobbit Extended Edition. It's been sitting in my collection for a year.
I own them and I've watched them.
I had no idea they made a Hobbit Extended Edition.
Neither did I.
Hey, the third one, Battle of Five Armies, is actually pretty good. But
no, it's not.
It has 8 fucking endings.
It's just like this. It's just like this. Like the third one.
My God.
The third one is definitely better.
It's more indulgent than the end of Return of the King. Extended Edition.
You're only hurting yourself, Chris.
I know what you guys mean. Are we at that time now where we're just going to say, if we're in the large... All right, so Chris, would you say that about most of the Marvel movies now? That because we keep having that conversation whenever we review the recent movie, basically the last year and a half of Marvel movies, we have mostly agreed that all of them could have probably gone to just Disney Plus and maybe been series and developed in some other side universe, that they're starting to feel kind of episodic and less significant than the original 2 or 3. I think it
depends on the scope of what they're trying to accomplish with the character and the story on it. If it's like a simple thing that's happening where it's like, this specific thing needs to happen with this character and he briefly meets up with this one, and it doesn't feel like, I think it just depends on if you feel like you're missing the context of why what you're watching on screen is happening.
Yeah.
So like Eternals, I was like, you can't introduce 9 characters
Yeah, that was a lot.
And make it seem like all of a sudden you give a shit that any of them die at the end of it.
Especially when when you have a director who makes you get to know the characters before they proceed with the story.
Yeah.
You've got 9 of them to meet. That was probably a minefield they were walking into.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think, what's the last other Marvel movie I saw that I don't think that the latest Spider-Man movie, No from Home or whatever that was
No Way Home.
No Way Home. I don't think that needed to be a TV show. I thought that was an effective, encapsulated story in a movie form.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
How about the Sony franchises then? The Venoms,
those don't count. Those aren't real movies. No one wants those to even exist.
Black Widow.
No one's happy about. There's no person, even a massive comic book fan, that was like, "Fuck yeah, we're making Morbius." There's not one human being in the planet that was like,
but I agree.
"Oh my god, we're finally doing it."
We're finally doing it. Oh, come on.
Yeah, they were we're finally releasing it. Should we probably turn the spoiler alert off? We stopped talking about Fantastic Beasts about 20 minutes ago.
Fuck it. You know what we're still at, but this conversation is interesting because it all pertains. We're talking about, there are 3. Let's talk about the giant fucking elephants in the room. We live in an age that is dominated by 3 universes: the Wizarding World, the MCU, and Lucas Star Wars giant universe fuckfest. And we're seeing them all navigated a little bit differently. It's interesting,
but that was funny.
I mean, come on, they're all very
Lucas
aware of their. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's beautiful.
That's what they should have called the Christmas special.
Look, we've come. All right. But seriously, it's interesting watching 3 enormous IPs with different strategies on how to embrace theatrical and streaming. How to straddle both of them. They're all doing it. Some of them, I think, are doing it better than others.
Well, the funniest thing is two of those you mentioned
it with the straddle. I think MCU is doing pretty well.
Studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look at this. I think we're agreeing right now, bringing it back to Fantastic Beasts. 2 out of 3 of those are doing a better job of straddling than the others. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the Wizarding World hasn't really dipped their toe into this yet. It sounds like they're going to.
Yeah.
But I think Star Wars has hit the fucking nail on the head. I think they have figured out that, of course, there's a time to bring you back into the theater, fucking cue up some John Williams or Mr. Giacchino, and get people back in there for a massive spectacle. And then there's a time for a 30-minute, half-hour episodic. And it's all the same universe, and you're still going to get your fix, but they're different stories. They're not all supposed to be crammed through square, round peg, round hole or whatever. So do we think that the Harry Potter Wizarding World could take a lesson from Disney and LucasArts? Do you think it's time for them to start embracing? Where are they, Dave? Where are they about to go? Warner Brothers, you said
it's Warner Brothers Discovery now, so it'll be on HBO Max, I would say, if they do it.
HBO Max.
There's also a parallel to be drawn between the way that Marvel, granted, Marvel's jumped the shark at this point, but the way Marvel handled the first 16 plus films of their series compared to whatever DC strategy was over the last same time, there wasn't a strategy. It was just throwing stuff at the wall, and some of them were great. You had the Christopher Nolan films, then you have
you can say
whatever the Justice League stuff was. But I think that's the same studio that holds the keys to Harry Potter. I think the fact that the 8 Harry Potter films did so well is maybe more of a miracle than we give it credit for. That's the same studio that was handling DCU was also handling Harry Potter in the first.
It's the source material, though, isn't it?
But I don't know about the source material argument, because J.K. Rowling wrote the 3 Fantastic Beasts films. So it's yes, there weren't physical books to point to, but it's not like it's a whole new creative force.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If she wrote that whole first series, that's a story she had to tell. And then all of a sudden they were trying to force it.
That's fair.
She told the story she had to tell. And then they were like, let's go back there for more money.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's your only motivation, it's not going to work.
It seemed like it should be a slam dunk. Let's tell an adult story in the Harry Potter universe with wizards and witches that can crush magic. It seems like
look, organically we've come full circle, which I'm very excited about. I would agree with you if the first one didn't feel like a kid's movie to me. I remember watching the first Fantastic Beasts and being like, who did they make that for?
Yeah.
Was that because it felt like it was him kind of getting the creatures, and of course it's cute, and the visual effects are really really lovely. And I remember walking out there and I was super stoned. I remember I was telling Chris the other night, I was like so high when I saw that. But I remember just thinking like, they planted the seeds for the Dumbledore story. Yeah, sure. Yeah, like most movies. They planted the seeds for what I think they're going to do, which is exciting. I was excited at the end of it. But for most of it, I remember thinking this was a little family friendly, having come from, the last few Harry Potter movies that were no longer family friendly. It was starting to be something more serious. And I don't know. I just remember thinking, look, if you're going to start a new series and you're going to take yourself seriously, then I don't know. I think you need to base it around something that is going to have higher dramatic stakes than you left off. And I just don't know if they started
around 3 or 4. They kind of upped the stakes. Like Goblet of Fire, they suddenly started killing kids.
Of course, dude. Fucking people started dying in number 4, and you're like, okay.
And then, like in this one, like people are getting fucking killed left, right, and center, and disintegrated, and
she fucking loves killing people.
She slits the throat of the little baby horsey thing.
Yeah, that's what Elizabeth. Yeah, we were walking out.
Intense.
Elizabeth was like, "Holy shit! I can't believe they killed an animal like that on screen." I mean,
which is funny. Right? That is more intense now.
That is the opposite of the save the cat moment. It's like have them do something so fucking evil. Like, that's how you establish your villain, and it worked.
That's why the first John Wick's is so great. It's like if they killed his kid, everyone would be like, yeah, whatever. But they kill the puppy, and it's like, fucking scorched earth, completely justified.
Again, I'm gonna fall back to the Russian guy in that, because like the second he found out that whose dog they killed, he was like, oh fuck, oh
fuck, you did what?
Look,
yeah. Those movies are so much fun.
Yeah, they are. I cannot wait till we get back to that.
Chris, I think you're right, dude. I think. God, I don't want to say this is the ultimate takeaway, but leaving these 3 that ultimately I don't think they amounted to a really excellent trilogy spinoff of a really amazing series of books and movies. I think they should probably consider what their next giant pivot is going to be theatrically and start asking themselves seriously, if we made our money writing very long books and then turning them into very long movies, is it time for us to lean into streaming where we can tell very long stories over an extended period of time that are character driven?
Or do both. Do a series and then do a movie, and then a series and then a movie. There could have been a series between movie 2 and 3 that built up like me being excited about Secrets of Dumbledore.
A couple of things I want to ask about from a filmmaking perspective, because what format did you guys see this in?
We saw it in one of the one I've gone to many times, Dave. It's the biggest regular digital theater at one of the theaters.
Yeah, because I saw this in AMC's Dolby, and it was AMC at Times Square. I'm wondering, was there something wrong with the theater? Because like some of the scenes were incredibly underlit in my screening. Like there was some times where it just looked too dark.
That never flagged to me.
Okay, and also there was some dialogue right near the beginning, like in the first, I want to say, third of the film, maybe quarter of the film, that was you just couldn't quite understand.
I never heard the dialogue, but there were a couple dark moments where I heard the DP of the not Battle of the Bastards, but what was that really dark episode in the last season of Game of Thrones that was too dark and everybody was complaining about it?
Yeah.
And the DP was famously like, it looked fucking great on my TV. Your fucking settings are wrong. Like there were a couple of moments in this movie where I was like, I think it's pretty dark, and I think some people can't see every detail in this shot.
And it's like you have no excuse then. You're in a fucking cinema. Like that's what it was graded for.
That's right.
So I there were a couple of times where it was a bit underlit. And there was a few of, and I feel like there was something wrong with the AMC's Dolby, because
that's insane, dude, because they have like people who come there and calibrate that like monthly.
And I feel like they need to fucking come again, because like there was some stuff where you could not like the dialogue sounded honky, like it had like a lot of mids in it.
Where were you sitting in the theater? Were you were you off to the side?
No, I was in the perfect seating. It's like fucking row D. It's like I was about, I want to say 30 feet from the screen. It was perfect.
There were like 10 speakers in front of you. You should have been fucking Atmos. You should have been able to hear every fucking word. That's insane.
Yeah, I was in like the sweet spot. Like, I've got a list, dude, of the sweep spots of all the theaters in New York.
Oh my god.
Row F at the Times Square row F. That is the
Times Square
money.
the Times Square IMAX, yes, row F.
The Times Square Dolby.
No, row D.
The handicap row D.
Just in front of the handicap row D is row and row H at Lincoln Center is
row H. Go fuck you! I'm buzzing your fucking Australian ass for putting a hard H on H.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We give it to each other. The C word. What did you guys? Let's play a fun little game here called "Who's your favorite Grindelwald?" We've now seen a few people play Grindelwald, and let's see who came out on top for you guys.
Do you need to ask?
We have Colin Farrell, right, playing who Grindelwald was disguised as. Isn't that how it went in the first one?
Yeah.
Revealed to be Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp at the end of the first one and the second one, Johnny Depp, and now Mads Mikkelsen. So who are we going with? Who takes it home for you?
I am all about the Mads. I have a deep intellectual love for Mads.
It's not intellectual. Just lean into it, Dave. Out yourself right now. Tell your wife that you got to leave. You got to chase down Mads Mikkelsen.
He's on my list. I'd do him.
I'm going to have to go with...
Who is it, Chris?
I'm going to go with Jamie Campbell Bower from the original.
The flashback kid?
The flashback for about 4 seconds. I thought he really nailed the characterization of the character.
You know we're filming you, right? We saw you look that up.
wait. Is that the childhood lover, or is that the old man?
I've never seen this guy before.
Because remember, they flash back in number 6 or 7. They flash back when Voldemort goes to get the wand and he breaks into his jail cell. Are you talking about that old man?
He
or
was
the young
once
guy?
a full-time male model with the British modeling agency. And
all right, it's got to be the young guy.
I don't know. Mads. He's obviously the best actor of all of them. But again, I'm just annoyed that they recasted it. I think that's like the Harry Potter movies. Like there was, I think, one major recasting in all 8 movies, and that was because the actor died. You know, it's like incredible. They got through like 14 movies worth of keeping all of the main actors the same, and it like makes it so much more enjoyable to. Every Christmas, people go through and watch all 8 of them, you know, like with their family, over like a week or 2. And I just feel like it's not a big deal if it's been 2 years since you've seen the last film, because you're like, yeah, whatever, it's not Johnny Depp anymore. But like, if I do go back and revisit these in a few years, it's going to be really annoying going from 1 to 2 to 3, and it's a fucking different Grindelwald every time.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's huge. I don't.
It might not even
unless they lean into it and it's a different one again next time.
Who should be the next
Dave,
one?
I think
Gary Busey.
It's like Bond. It's like they just change him every movie.
Honestly, dude. Dave, I think you're right.
They can't say anything. They just have to do it.
Do it. Yeah. It's like Bond, Doctor Who. We're just gonna whatever. It's a different person. Fuck it.
Who's your dream Grindelwald for film 4?
Ooh.
Christoph Waltz.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, he's my
You just
dream
had
one
that
right
sitting
now.
there too. Like that just came out.
It came out. You know, it was sitting right on the chest too. I didn't even think about it, but I think he's always.
I'll tell you one thing though, like that's pissing me off at the moment. They keep teasing McGonagall and just like throwing her in there for like one scene. Yeah.
She answers doors.
Dude,
she's just like
she need like give her a fucking moment. She better have if they finish this, she better have a fucking moment where she kicks some ass, and
not a cat. She's not fucking turning into a cat.
She briefly crushes in the 7th movie. I think it's 7 Part 2.
Yeah.
She goes like nuts, and she's just fucking badass.
Yeah.
When she does the, are you talking about when she sends Snape out? A
few times. Well, one when she just like makes all of the soldiers or all of the statues.
Protect your school.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that.
Badass soldiers.
I like when she casts out Snape though. When she just yeah, that's always fun. Coward!
Like all this, it's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I know, but Dave, you're right. We've seen her now as a young woman. And what are they waiting for?
Yeah.
Why are they not Minerva? Why are they not letting her into
Minerva
the action?
Loose, you motherfuckers.
Hashtag. I have to assume they've got big plans.
Yeah, let's hashtag that and get it started. Like, let Minerva loose.
You know what, though, guys? This is what I think about this, too. We're talking about David Yates. He's been doing these for a long time. This has been JK's entire fucking life. Wouldn't it be fun if we had the platform where we could fuck up You know what I mean? Like we could try things, make mistakes, swing, nail some. I mean, how cool is it that they have been able to build an entire life and career out of telling a story about this thing that didn't exist until the first Harry Potter. It's just crazy. It didn't exist until then. It's nuts.
We've run out of time to talk about it as well, but shout out to the two things. Eddie Redmayne for one.
Sure, I guess we should mention
just falling straight back into that character, like the whole thing that he does with like the no eye contact, unless he's dealing with animals and he's confident, and like that he just falls back into it with what seems like the greatest of ease. Like, so hats off to him, and also like the visual effects guys who are doing these creatures. Holy shit, dude!
They're great.
Like
They're
I know the amount of work that can't even fathom the amount of work, but I also know the amount of work that went into those creatures. And there's creatures, like if you watch the special features of the earlier movies, there's creatures that didn't even make it to the screen that they concepted, and like they've taken these things from concept art to like life, and then the actors themselves, who sometimes have absolutely nothing on set to work with, and they're literally miming, putting things in like place. Sometimes they have a puppet, but a lot of the times they don't.
As Jeff says, what's always really important, and Jeff always says this, and I think it's really true in these movies, you can see all these actors are having a really fun time.
Yeah, that's
and
important.
I think you got to enjoy watching them work. We can pick apart the story as we're doing. We can bitch and complain about these tiny little things, but ultimately it's so obvious that they had a fun time making it. They're going to keep making them. We're going to keep watching them.
I hope they keep making them.
You just can't resist going into the wizarding world.
I want to see how this ends.
You know what? Whether you like it or not, Dave, I think we're going to have to see how this thing ends because they're going to keep making these movies, and we're going to keep fucking watching them.
If they decide to stop, we're storming Warner Brothers.
Yeah, we could complain about these 3 movies until the fucking cows come home, but if they don't make any more, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll write them a letter that starts with "Look, motherfuckers."
Chris, you think they're done?
I do, because it did so crappy, and I think one of she's not unfortunately, because I think it's justified, but like the actual amount of anger and the lack of goodwill that JK has managed to create with her, anti-trans
fair
movement has like really like cooled a lot of her core fan base. Like they'll always still love the Harry Potter they remember and grew up with, but the idea of anything new that didn't exist beforehand, I don't know that there's the same hunger that there was.
Yeah, they are definitely having trouble with the lightning strike on this one.
Yeah. So I don't know that we'll get another one. I mean, I think if it had made $100 million this last weekend, then we probably would have, just from an economic standpoint. But now
the first week drop off will be the telltale. If they can pull like a 30% drop off or a 40% drop off for next week, maybe they'll get through. They'll sneak across, but it's so far it's not looking good.
How did it do globally? I didn't actually look at the global box office.
I didn't.
Right now it's sitting at 193, which is nothing to shake a stick at.
Too bad. That's actually not too bad. Actually, so
I bet that's about the budget. I bet it was about $180 million budget. I'm guessing, but
even that's problematic, because I'm sure you guys saw the story of. I think you guys are trying to wrap up, and I'm just bringing this shit up. But anyways,
do it.
They removed a bunch any line that referenced anything about homosexuality in China.
I mean, that's not really not really problematic. They do that all the time.
Sure, but it's problematic within the framing of the fact that there's already a lot of concern about what she's doing with trans.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's not a good look.
Is she still fucking doing it?
It's still happening.
Like doubling down and shit.
Like just when you think it's stopped, it's happening again. It's
because I know she wrote
it's like a proctology exam
as a response, like last year, and I didn't know anything else had happened past that. So it's still happening. Well, that's a shame. That's too bad. JK,
a proctology reference slipped right through there. Oh, great.
say proctology again.
No,
son of a bitch.
I managed to not create a media firestorm over a controversial subject every single day of my life. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard for her to do, especially because I'm sure she has a publicity team.
Yeah, I feel like that's why they brought in another writer on this one, because if you can't be trusted with a fucking Twitter account, you can't be trusted with a tentpole release.
It's just so easy to not create a media firestorm. So easy.
Yeah.
She just apparently she can't help herself. She's like on the defense and she's just going for it.
Well, sadly, it's the one thing Twitter didn't teach a lot of people. It's like not every fucking thought that comes out of your head is something everyone needs to hear.
Yeah.
Like your inner monologue should not be externalized.
And she had like a lot of she had enough goodwill built up from just pure nostalgia credit that she could have gotten through that initial statement with you know what, I feel like I have a lot more to learn about this subject, and you know, I'm going to do some self-reflection. I'm going to talk to other people that lead on this subject, and you know, and I'll try to educate myself and maybe some other opinions on this matter, and then never brought it up again, even if she felt the exact same way until she died. Yeah, but just never brought it up again. And I don't know, it seems so easy to me.
It's a shame she didn't try to.
Also, I didn't write Harry Potter, so I guess, you know, the hell do I know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're less special than J.K. Rowling, but it's a shame she didn't try to write a book about this. Yeah.
He's not wrong.
I mean, we're all less special than the most successful writer of all time, but it's a shame she didn't try to just lean into it and say I made a mistake and just try to explore the topic through a series. I think people would have been all about it. Yeah. But either way, well, if Elon Musk has his way, we're going to be able to say whatever we want on Twitter. And there's really not much we can do about it. So
I can't say anything about that.
Oh yeah, you're working for Mr. Musk? Are you an employee of SpaceX on an NDA?
No, NDAs can't say anything about that. Yeah.
You know what? We got very political here, but
well, we didn't. No, we got very human here.
And it's a shame. Well, no, I mean, but it's a shame that you can't. It is true. You kind of can't talk about these movies and where they're going in this world without acknowledging that now there is a source of the material at the center of it that has controversy around them. And is that going to taint and whatever happens moving forward? Possibly. Can you imagine if Stan Lee had done something? I almost said something really terrible. But if he had done something really, really bad at some point, you know, in the 70s or 80s. Yeah. I don't know if Marvel would have stood a chance to get rebooted as strongly as it did.
No, if he had 70 or 80s, he would have got right away with it. But not
you
in the 2000s.
You can't divorce the rapidity of her fan base from what is Harry Potter. Yeah. I mean, that's why it's so successful. I mean, that's why, like, the fact that no other series that I can think of in the last 60 years were people lining up at midnight to get the books. It's like she is why Harry Potter is so popular.
I feel like it boils down to like I'm very successful and I said some stupid shit, but I don't have the good sense to back down off that and go, oh fuck yeah, I was wrong. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
JK, if you're listening.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Just say you're sorry. Just say you're sorry, and everybody will come back. Or
just stop saying anything. Yeah, just give us some stories. Do the stories.
Say you're sorry first.
You don't need to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
John, am I hearing this correctly? Are you offering to be the platform with which she comes forward and apologizes to the world? Do you want her to do that in your podcast?
Yeah, let's do that. JK, come on the podcast.
We will gladly. JK, you know what?
You guys to be the medium for that.
JK, just one initial buzz, just so we can get it out of the way. You made a mistake. Come on the podcast. We're ready to have you. We're gonna have some hard questions. I will be your David Frost.
You were thrown out. Okay, we need to wrap this up. We're going like an hour and 10.
All right, we're going on an hour and 15 minutes here. This was really fun, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. We talked a lot of smack, but I think we also had some fun. I'm glad I went and saw this in the theater. It was very spectacular to watch. I still think it's the best one out of the three. So if you're hesitant about going to see this one, 100%. I still think you should go see it because it's better than the other two.
And go and see it because it might be the last. But we do, at the end, a quick round of what you've been watching.
Yeah, Chris,
I feel like we should cover that.
Kick us off,
Chris, you've been watching anything you want to throw out there? Recommend?
I'm sure you guys have already talked about this in the past few weeks, but Severance. Severance is the shit. It's so.
We haven't talked about it, dude. Come at us.
Jeff has mentioned this once. I don't have Apple Plus, so I don't have access to the
steal someone's login, borrow someone's login, get the week-long trial. Just watch Severance. Yeah. Oh my god, it might be my favorite show of the last 5 years. It's immaculate.
The last 5 years, dude. Wow, damn, dude. Anything else? You watch any other movies recently or any other shows? Or?
Everything Everywhere was incredible. I did I watched Ambulance last week. Ambulance is total dog shit.
Good going.
Not even in a fun Michael Bay way. It's just real bad.
Damn,
dude, that's well, you know what? Yeah. Oh, last week I wasn't a part of it, but they chose to do Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as opposed to Ambulance, and I think they made the right choice.
Made a great choice.
Ambulance made 8 million and Sonic made 72. So yeah,
we made a good choice. How bad Ambulance was.
8 million. That was probably $100 million movie, don't you think?
And he's gone the bottle. He's gone to the bottle. Jesus.
Ambulance made him go to the bottle.
That's how bad Ambulance was.
God damn. Chris, you're watching Winning Time, right? I'm still watching that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm so excited for it, and I have not started it, but I'm going to start it this week.
Oh, I thought we said I thought you was still.
No, it's been on my list for a minute. But I'm gonna, now that most of the episodes are all the episodes out, or most of them, or
not all of them, but it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna start.
Dave, what you been watching, dude?
I have not had time to watch anything this week. Work and other things got in the way. And I had Easter with the family, so there was like I lost my Sunday. So yeah, and I have nothing this week. What do you got?
I am almost caught up on Winning Time, enjoying it. That is a fun show. I don't think you even I don't know shit about the Lakers or basketball from that time. I'm not a real big sports guy, and I'm having fun. It's worth watching. I think it's enjoyable. I like Adam McKay. He doesn't direct every episode, but it feels like those Adam McKay styles.
The main editor on that's great. He does a lot of Adam McKay's films, and I think he has a very fun style.
I love that he goes back and forth between like fucking Terrence Malick, and Adam McKay. Like I like his style a lot. The editor. Do you know his name so we can shout him out?
I should. I've been a fan of his stuff for a long time, and it's completely skipping me. But I think it's because I'm chugging wine from a bottle at this point. So
might be the thing. That happens to me too.
Great. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've watched a few movies recently, and I'm gonna fully admit to them. We've been having some rom-com watches here at the house. Me and the girlfriend.
Hank
Corwin. Shout out. That guy has got a very unique style. I appreciate it. I watched Something's Gotta Give, and It's Complicated. Shout out to Nancy Meyer's production design. Those are amazing houses, and I want to live in them. And I don't think I'm alone in that aspect. I also watched for the very first time Nora Ephron's You Got Mail. Maybe I'm crazy. I'd never fucking seen it before. I'd never seen it. So yeah, sure. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
I love a Nora Ephron film. She's great. They're so fun.
They're all very fun, agreeable, safe films. But if you feel good watching them, and there's nothing wrong with that. Dave, how about you?
We covered me. I got nothing. So
yeah, you got fucking nothing. I was giving you another chance, and you had
still
nothing.
got nothing.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on. I hope this isn't the last time.
Let me know if you ever want my annoying input again, and I'll be here.
We would love to have your annoying input again. Yeah, we'll get you back on here with Jeff sometime soon because
let's do it. Yeah, I need to meet Jeff.
Yeah, he has a fun time on the show, and I think you guys would have fun bantering back and forth. So thank you so much, film fans. We will see you next week for Dave. We're doing it right. We're doing the fucking Northman. We're doing it right.
Are we doing Northman or are we doing Massive Weight?
Oh shit! One of those two movies will be done.
We're gonna argue this out.
Come back soon and figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.